Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're celebrating the art of restraint. The watches that prove the most powerful design statement a timepiece can make is knowing precisely what to leave out. Minimalist watches occupy a unique and deeply considered space in horology, where every line, every hand, every marker, and every surface must justify its presence or be eliminated entirely. The result, when executed with genuine conviction, is a watch of such quiet confidence and enduring elegance that it transcends fashion cycles and becomes something genuinely timeless. From accessible everyday companions to icons of 20th century design thinking, today's 10 watches represent the finest minimalist watchmaking has to offer at every level. Let's begin. Number 10. Skagen Holst Slim. The Skagen Holst Slim opens our countdown as the most accessible entry point into genuinely considered minimalist watch design, a piece that distills the clean, functional aesthetic philosophy of Scandinavian design into an object so elegantly simple that wearing it feels less like a fashion choice and more like a design statement made with complete confidence. Skagen takes its name and its design sensibility from the northernmost tip of Denmark, where the quality of light, the flatness of the landscape, and the long tradition of functional Nordic craft combine into a visual philosophy that eliminates decoration not out of poverty of imagination, but out of disciplined certainty that simplicity is superior. The Holst Slim's ultra-thin case sits against the wrist with a flatness and discretion that makes it the ideal companion for slim-cuffed formal shirts and the narrow watch pockets of tailored suits, a watch that adds refinement to an outfit without asserting itself over it. The mesh bracelet is the detail that elevates the Holst Slim above its price bracket. The fine interlocked links catch light with a subtlety that printed or stamped bracelets cannot replicate, and the comfort of a well-fitted mesh against the wrist is a daily pleasure that owners consistently cite as the detail that makes the watch genuinely special. For the cost of dinner for two at a decent restaurant, the Skagen Holst Slim delivers a daily wearing experience of real elegance. The Skagen Holst Slim retails for approximately $95 USD. Number 9. Timex Fairfield. The Timex Fairfield is the minimalist watch that Americans have been quietly wearing for decades, without necessarily knowing they were participating in a design tradition of genuine distinction. And examining it with fresh eyes reveals a clarity of purpose and honesty of construction that more celebrated names at higher prices would be proud to claim. Timex's heritage in accessible American watchmaking stretches back to the 19th century, and the Fairfield draws on that tradition of making well-designed, dependably functional timepieces available to everyone without pretension or unnecessary complication. The clean dial with its simple applied markers and slim hands achieves legibility and elegance simultaneously, a balance that sounds straightforward in description but proves elusive in execution, as the vast graveyard of failed minimalist designs at every price point confirms. The leather strap options available across the Fairfield range are chosen with a color sensitivity and material awareness that reflects a genuine understanding of how a watch integrates with a wardrobe rather than simply accessorizing it. The Indiglo backlight, Timex's proprietary electroluminescent dial illumination, adds a practical dimension that purely aesthetic minimalist watches often sacrifice on the altar of visual purity, making the Fairfield genuinely useful in the darkened environments where a glowing dial matters most. At its price, the Timex Fairfield is the watch that asks only one question: why would you spend more? The Timex Fairfield retails for approximately $80 USD. Number 8. Citizen Eco Drive Stiletto. The Citizen Eco Drive Stiletto earns its place on this countdown by solving the minimalist watch's most persistent practical problem with an elegance that perfectly complements its visual philosophy. A watch this thin, this quiet, and this refined should never be interrupted by a battery replacement visit to a watchmaker. And the Eco Drive solar technology ensures it never will be. The Stiletto name is not marketing hyperbole. At certain references measuring under 4 millimeters in case thickness, this is among the thinnest watches produced by any manufacturer at any price, a technical achievement that requires careful engineering of every internal component to fit within a profile that makes competing slim watches look positively chunky in comparison. The sensation of wearing something this thin on the wrist is qualitatively different from any conventional watch. It sits not on the wrist, but against it, integrating with the body's surface rather than sitting above it, creating a wearing experience of extraordinary discretion that watch enthusiasts describe as making the absence of a watch feel more noticeable than its presence. Eco Drive converts any light source, natural or artificial, into charging energy with sufficient efficiency that normal indoor wear keeps the movement running indefinitely without any intervention from the owner whatsoever, aligning the watch's practical operation with its visual philosophy of demanding nothing unnecessary. The Citizen Eco Drive Stiletto retails for approximately $295 USD. Number 7. Braun Classic Analog. The Braun Classic Analog is not merely a minimalist watch. It is a primary source document of minimalist design philosophy, a physical artifact of the design thinking that Dieter Rams and the Braun design department developed at Ulm in the 1950s and 1960s, and that went on to influence virtually every field of product design that followed, including the industrial design of a technology company in Cupertino that has shaped the visual language of the 21st century. Rams's 10 principles of good design, among them that good design is as little design as possible, read almost as a specification sheet for the Braun Classic Analog itself. The dial is a study in information hierarchy executed with absolute confidence. The markers present precisely the information needed for time reading and nothing beyond. The hands are proportioned for maximum legibility at minimum visual weight, and the overall composition achieves a balance that feels not designed but discovered, as though the watch arrived at this appearance through logical necessity rather than aesthetic preference. Owning a Braun Classic Analog is owning a piece of design history that remains in active daily production, a reminder that the most enduring design decisions are those made from principle rather than trend. For anyone with an interest in the history of modern design, this watch is not optional. The Braun Classic Analog retails for approximately $330 USD. Number 6. Junghans Max Bill Automatic. The Junghans Max Bill Automatic is the watch that carries an artist's name and fulfills the promise that name implies with every detail of its construction. A timepiece designed by one of the 20th century's most influential figures in art, design, and typography, and produced by a German manufacturer with a century and a half of precision timekeeping heritage. Max Bill was a student of the Bauhaus under Paul Klee and Wassily Kandinsky, a sculptor, painter, architect, typographer, and industrial designer whose commitment to the Bauhaus principle of unity between fine art and functional design informed everything he created. The watch dial he designed for Junghans in 1961 is considered one of the masterworks of applied design thinking, a circular composition in which the relationship between every element has been considered with the rigor of a geometric abstraction and the practicality of a professional instrument. The railway minute track, the precisely weighted hands, the restrained typography of the Junghans signature, the absence of anything not required for accurate time reading, every decision reflects a design intelligence of the highest order operating at full commitment. The automatic movement inside brings the horological dimension of quality to match the design pedigree, a well-finished caliber with a display case back that invites contemplation of the movement's architecture in the same spirit of formal appreciation that the dial rewards from the front. The Junghans Max Bill Automatic retails for approximately $730 USDT. Number 5. Nomos Tangente. The Nomos Tangente arrives at the midpoint of our countdown as the watch that the international design and architecture community has adopted as something approaching an unofficial uniform. And understanding why requires only a moment's examination of a dial that achieves a level of typographic and compositional refinement that even Junghans and Braun, for all their design distinction, cannot fully match. Nomos Glashütte emerged from the former East German city of Glashütte in 1990, the year of reunification, and immediately set about producing watches of such considered elegance and honest mechanical integrity that they attracted attention from design schools, architecture practices, and cultural institutions worldwide whose members had never previously considered a mechanical watch a relevant design object. The Tangente dial is built around a type specimen. The Nomos font, developed in collaboration with type designers as a proprietary typeface of outstanding legibility and formal beauty, that gives the watch an intellectual coherence between letter form and watch face that no other manufacturer at any price has quite replicated. The in-house alpha movement visible through the display case back is decorated with the traditional Glashütte finishing techniques, three-quarter plate, Glashütte ribbing, blued screws, that connect the Tangente to a craft tradition stretching back through German watchmaking history, while the dial faces forward into an entirely contemporary design sensibility. For designers, architects, and anyone who responds to objects of genuine intellectual seriousness, the Nomos Tangente is the only watch. The Nomos Tangente retails for approximately $1,600 USD. Number 4. Mondaine Official Swiss Railways Watch. The Mondaine Official Swiss Railways Watch occupies a position in the history of functional design that is genuinely unique. This is not a watch inspired by a design system, but the official licensed timekeeping expression of one of the most celebrated and influential graphic design achievements of the 20th century, Hans Hilfiger's 1944 Swiss Federal Railways clock face. Hilfiger's clock design, the clean white dial, the bold black markers, the distinctive red seconds hand with its circular tip that pauses at 12 o'clock in the original station clocks, was created to ensure that every traveler on every platform of the Swiss rail network could read the time instantly and without ambiguity regardless of viewing distance, lighting conditions, or visual acuity. It is designed in its most elemental and socially purposeful form, and it achieves a perfection of function so complete that it simultaneously achieves a perfection of form, the two being, in the best design thinking, inseparable. The Mondaine Official Swiss Railways Watch translates that station clock face to wrist scale with a fidelity that preserves every design decision Hilfiger made while accommodating the different context of personal wear. The result is a watch that is immediately recognizable to anyone who has passed through a Swiss station, that carries the quiet authority of an official system rather than a commercial product, and that reads the time with an instantaneous clarity that most watches, for all their finishing and complexity, cannot equal. The Mondaine Official Swiss Railways Watch retails for approximately $225 USD. Number 3. Uniform Wares M40. The Uniform Wares M40 is the minimalist watch made by people for whom minimalism is not an aesthetic choice, but an absolute philosophical commitment. And the difference between that level of conviction and the considered restraint of other brands on this list is visible in every millimeter of the M40's construction. Uniform Wares is a British brand founded by designers rather than watchmakers, and that origin shapes an approach to the watch object that begins not with the conventions of the industry, but with the question of what a watch needs to be and nothing more. The M40 case is a study in geometric resolution, a circle resolved with such precision of proportion that adding or subtracting a single millimeter in any dimension would demonstrably compromise the whole. The chapter ring with its PVD-applied indices sits in dimensional relationship to the dial surface with a depth and shadow that gives the watch an architectural quality visible only in person, a spatial refinement that photographs consistently fail to capture. The interchangeable strap system is engineered with the same commitment to precision as the case. The mechanism locks and releases with a mechanical certainty and smoothness that makes every other quick-release strap system on the market feel approximate by comparison. Swiss movements of consistent quality power each reference, and the range of color options across dials and straps reflects a color intelligence that treats the watch as a complete designed object, rather than a case with interchangeable components. The Uniform Wares M40 retails for approximately $495 USD. Number 2. Daniel Wellington Classic. The Daniel Wellington Classic achieved something that established watch industry observers initially dismissed as impossible. It built a global minimalist watch brand from essentially nothing in under a decade, creating a product and an aesthetic that resonated with an entire generation of consumers who had grown up with smartphones and found the visual language of traditional watchmaking cluttered, loud, and irrelevant to how they dressed and lived. The formula Philip Tysander identified was deceptively simple in description and enormously difficult in execution. A genuinely clean watch dial, a quality NATO or leather strap in well-considered colorways, a price point accessible to a young professional or fashion-conscious student, and a visual identity coherent enough to be immediately recognizable at wrist distance. The Classic delivers on that formula with a consistency and quality that the brand's mass-market success can obscure. The cases are well-finished, the dials are genuinely clean and well-proportioned, the straps are produced in leather and canvas of honest quality, and the overall wearing experience delivers the quiet elegance that the marketing promises. The interchangeable strap system means a single watch head can wear entirely differently across different strap choices, multiplying the wardrobe versatility of the investment across multiple occasions and aesthetics. For the minimalist watch curious about whether the category suits their lifestyle before committing to a more significant investment, the Daniel Wellington Classic is the most sensible starting conversation. The Daniel Wellington Classic retails for approximately $180 USD. Number 1. Movado Museum Classic. The Movado Museum Classic takes the top position on today's countdown with a claim to legitimacy that no other watch in the minimalist category can make. It is the only watch in the permanent design collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. an institution whose curatorial standards for admitting objects into that collection are among the most rigorous applied to industrial design anywhere in the world. The single dot at 12 o'clock, applied in gold on a completely unbroken black dial surface, with no markers, no numerals, no indices of any kind beyond that solitary point, is the most radical and the most confident design decision in the history of watch dial design. Nathan George Horwit conceived the museum dial in 1947 from a visual concept both ancient and immediately modern, the sun at its zenith on a featureless horizon, and the Movado manufacturing house that ultimately produced and licensed it understood immediately that they were in possession of something that transcended commercial watch design and entered the territory of designed objects with genuine cultural significance. 7 decades of continuous production have not diminished the museum dial's power to provoke and to satisfy in equal measure. On a wrist, it communicates time through spatial intuition rather than explicit notation. You read the position of the hands relative to the dot rather than counting to a numeral, engaging a different and more fundamental human relationship with time than conventional dials permit. The polished stainless steel case, the museum-quality finishing, and the range of strap and bracelet options give the Classic a versatility of occasion that its radical dial might not immediately suggest. This watch wears convincingly from board meetings to gallery openings to formal evenings with equal authority. The Movado Museum Classic retails for approximately $395 USD, and it delivers the most singular, most historically significant, and most philosophically committed minimalist watch experience available at any price on the market today.